unfortunately.
No, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's a great spot.
Lots of rain, not a lot of tourists. That was.
Well, yeah, Hilo is. In fact, I think the first time we went to the Big Island, we did go to Hilo, and we learned that that wasn't necessarily the spot.
That was always kind of a selling point with family. There was that
Right.
it was more local than it was tourist.
That's right. Exactly. So we've been on the Kona side for a lot of years now.
Nice. Did you ever happen to go to the Kona Village when it was still open? That was the
Kona Village.
Yeah, it was one of the resorts over on that side that was really neat.
Well, no, I've never been to the Kona Village, but the Waikoloa Village. We hang out at Waikoloa.
Kona Village was just north of the airport there, and when there was a tsunami, oh gosh, now probably 10, 12 years ago, that unfortunately destroyed it.
Yeah.
But it was real neat, all individual hales, individual little grass huts, very kind of, no phones, no TV, but just a beautiful spot.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. Do they have a golf course there, though?
Oh yeah, well, you have to have a golf course.
Gotta have a golf course.
Mr. Mayor, it is 5:30 now.
Okay, well, let's get rolling. Hi, Smart. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Okay, let me get my... Okay, let's start our meeting off the way we always do, with a moment of silence. It seems like things are calming down some. There's a lot going on, but I think it's calmer than it's been. We still have a lot to be thankful for. There's still some people hurting. So let's just do a moment of silence and reflect on the good things. Okay, thank you, everyone. Let's call the meeting to order. Mike, you want to do roll call?
Yep, 1 second. I've got Councilor Ocholi.
Yeah.
Councilor Thompson. Yeah, from Hawaii. All right, I see you. Councilor Moore.
Present. Calling in from King City, Oregon.
Councilor Platt. I don't see him yet.
Anybody here from Dave?
Councilor Paulson.
Here.
President Fender.
Here.
And Mayor Gibson.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
No, I haven't heard from Dave yet.
Okay. All right. Hopefully he will be able to join us. Okay. We don't have any minutes to approve. 4.1, we don't have any special presentations, and we'll go right to open forum. We welcome public comment at this time. The council will be happy to receive your comment pertaining to items on the agenda, including questions, suggestions, complaints, and items for the future. Each person's time will be limited to 3 minutes. Anybody sign up, Ronnie? Anybody?
Yeah,
Viva.
Okay, Viva, you have your 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Gibson. I'm Viva Gaylor. I live at 12700 Southwest Beef Bend Road. And I will report from Beef Bend Road that tonight, the construction's still going on. This is the latest that they've run past. Like normally they're done at 3 and they're still blocking traffic out there. So start the clock now, that doesn't count. Anyway, this evening, I have my King City Community Foundation hat on, and we would like to have a dump day. And that would be on June 5th. And the idea is we would have a dumpster and a shred event. at the park with this appropriate social distancing. And I would like to ask the city to help us financially do that we as the foundation would facilitate the event. And if you could fund the price with the Pride. And I believe it is going to be under $500 because we've arranged that the only cost will be the dump fee, not the normal fee for a dumpster. And I also want to put a caveat on that before I release my 2 minutes and ask you guys to approve that, is this came from our monthly King City roundtable discussion. And one of Jennifer Gardner suggested that working from home, more people have shredding, and she'd like to have a shred event. And, volunteer time, we don't have as time we'd like. So we're finally getting it on the calendar. And then, not to spoil anybody else's take their thunder, but it would be nice to kind of clean up the park before we put the new art in. And hopefully we can coordinate, besides dumping your own stuff, some people who would volunteer to pick up some of the trails. And then we'll have the dumpster there to take away the detritus that has accumulated in the park. Thank you, Mayor and my fellow neighbor city council members, for considering this request to clean up the city and benefit all of our neighbors.
Okay, so
Thank you, Viva.
Viva, your request is for $500 as a contribution from the city for this event, or is it just to cover the cost of the dumpster, whatever that cost is? Which one are you looking for?
I'm looking for covering the dumpster cost, which actually they'll do the dumpster. It's the dump fee at the dump, and a little bit of money for advertising. I don't think there'll be much because I think we can coordinate with Solve and Metro, but I was hoping that Pride could just charge the city and we wouldn't have to have any money go through the King City Community Foundation. We would just facilitate the event.
Okay.
Mayor, can I jump in for a second?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you, Viva. That's great. So I think just to kind of piggyback on what Viva was saying, so what we have kind of focused on is doing like a spring clean event for a full week. So that first weekend, which is June 5th and 6th, we're hoping to partner with Solve and do the trail pickup, park pickup and all of that down along that. Then the foundation is looking to put out kind of on social media some suggested fun things every day that people can do around King City to help spruce it up and clean it up. And then the following weekend, do a shred, dump, and a recycling kind of event. So one of the things in talking with Pride Disposal, if we partner with if the foundation partners with the city, the shredding, the shredding vehicle and the fees for that will be donated by Pride to the city. The dump truck will be donated to the city, but the city would need to pay for the driver's time and then the fee, as Viva pointed out, to dump the material back at the actual dump. And I think the only way to get those advantaged rates and is that we partner with the city, and the city kind of goes through the city helps co-sponsors the event. And then we're looking at working with the King City Lions Club to take back returnables. The King City Lions collects the returnables for the Honor Flight program, where all the deposits that they get from recycling bottles and cans help support veterans to go back to Washington, D.C. to go to the War Memorial and the cost related to that. And then we're looking to also partner with Solve or Metro or Washington County to maybe do some itemized recycling, like it would be great to do some electronic recycling or batteries or something that more than, non-curbside recycling programs. The problem with that is that we don't know what that's going to be right now because various organizations are focusing on various things. So whoever we can get partnered with that. Now, the idea is to have the shred, recycling, and dump event down at the park, but on the gravel area of the park. So it would be kind of a contactless event where we envision drivers will come down, stay socially distant from each other, disembark their detritus, as Viva said, and then can kind of circle back around and drive away. And then we wanted to keep that separate from the kind of park cleanup, because that will mostly be, we anticipate, just people walking down from the community or driving and parking. And then that way we can help people socially distant and kind of pick up trash along the park. There's a ton of fishing line, down where the little dock is and stuff like that. So we think it's great. I think Viva's estimate is good, not to exceed 500, but that, maybe if the city would just commit, my understanding from Viva is that the ask is that the city would just commit to paying the bill directly to Pride, and so forth. So I am going to recuse myself from this because, as we know, I am involved with the foundation, but I just wanted to add kind of some of those extra tidbits. And we have reached out to Washington County to get support, right, for gloves and trash bags, and hoping that Solve or there's some, Washington County donated the little litter pickup pincher things to Forest Grove. So we could either borrow them from them or Solve can bring them. But the idea is not for people to pick up litter with their hands. It would be with those little pincher picker upper things. And so anyway, with that,
okay, so a couple questions, and I'm looking at Mike about the feasibility of the donation. Mike, your thoughts?
I think it's relatively minor. And we don't necessarily have it in the budget, but it probably could put it under a line item under the council miscellaneous fees or something to that effect. So it's really up to the council if you guys want to designate these funds for that purpose.
So
I mean, we aren't doing the shred event, so that should be something.
right. So
The thing we're not doing too is the American golf tournament.
Yeah, so we should have some discretionary funds somewhere along the line.
but there's still some conversation going on about rethinking, taking another look at the golf tournament for possibly September. I had this conversation with Roy and Bob last week, so that may still occur depending on how things are moving.
What's the date on this, Viva, Jamie?
So June, so the litter park cleanup would be the weekend of June 5th and 6th, the trail pickup, and then the shred event would be either the 12th or 13th.
Shred dumpster.
Or dumpster, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'm out of town the 5th and 6th, so you guys are on your own on that one, but I should be around for the following weekend.
Okay. So do we need a motion for approval for funds for this?
Yeah.
A motion and a second for allocating funds to the shred and dumpster event.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve up to $500 to fund the dump and shred event in the King City Park.
Second that.
Okay, let's have a vote by a show of hands. All in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's everyone because Jamie's abstained and David isn't here.
So final question on this. Did I hear you guys say that there was going to be some kind of prize for every homeowner that cleans out their garage and can now park a car in their garage? Did I hear you say
No,
that?
but I promise we'll do something quippy on social media for you. How about that?
I
But
thought
Ken,
I
I
don't
think
know
we
where
should,
I came up with
I think we should have a mayor's award
that.
for the White Glove Garage,
Yeah.
awarded by Ken Gibson for anyone who wants to present that, getting that seal of approval. And that's real bragging rights.
Okay.
And
We'll save that one for a different day. Okay.
that's
right.
what we'll just table it for the future, that there might need to be a mayor's clean garbage or clean garage award.
I love it. Okay, we'll think about that and we'll bring that one up at another time.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Do we have any other public comments?
Yes, we
No.
do. We have Michael Myers.
Michael Meyer. Okay. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Mike Meyer, 16950 Southwest Meyer Lane in Tigard. I have a complaint, and it regards the website, the King City website. With the transformation going on in King City, major transformation, I think it's more important than ever that citizens have access to information and to know who their representation is on the city council. And I'm fairly engaged in all these meetings, CPO, council meetings, planning commission, TAC, SAC. I try to attend all of these things. And a few months back, I brought this up at one of the meetings. I can't remember which one. And I know I brought it up several times. If you go to your King City website, Jamie Fender and Ken Gibson are the only ones with bios and email addresses. Gretchen Buhner is shown as the council treasurer. Smart shows his term ends in 20, and there's no mention of Kate Moore. So I think it's really important that you have an accurate website, one that people can go to, find email addresses for everyone, and have communication with their elected representatives. And like I said, it's more important than ever right now that you be accessible if people want to speak to you and have concerns and whatnot. You're the decision makers of what's going on right now.
Yes.
And I can repeat that same sort of thing over many times when it comes to the website. For instance, I was referred to the website for more information on the TSP, and there's really nothing there. It's just generalities. It's about the TSP process, but nothing in particular, no details. And back when we had the SAC meeting or the TAC meeting on May 3rd, a tabling event was brought up. And I, again, am fairly engaged, and I hadn't heard anything about a tabling event. So a few days later, I got on the King City website and there was nothing about the tabling event. One of your Edgewater community members contacted Steve Faust on the 14th of May, and he had not seen anything either or heard anything about it. And at that point, he was told it had been rescheduled. And that event was supposed to happen on a 5/18, and right now it shows rescheduled on your King City website. So I guess my point is here is please keep your website up to date. Please update the city council members and provide email addresses and whatnot, because it's important for you to have accurate and thorough information. Thank you.
Michael, I agree with you 100%. It has to get fixed. That information should be up to date and accurate, and we will do everything we can to make sure that that occurs. And I appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
And Mary, can I also has the company, the consultant company, and their name is escaping me right now, I apologize, but we raised concerns about ensuring that the information was up to date on the landing pages and that things were easier to find, right? Because if everything's being directed to the website, so can we, Ronnie, can you pull that one up real quick? Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm not being very articulate, but I just want to, let's see. Don't they go to the urban growth boundary or that one, the master plan?
Jamie, what are you trying to find?
Well, I'm not, so who's, Ronnie, are you the one that's
Oh,
holding the cursor?
sorry, I'm on mute.
Okay. Okay.
Michael, what website are you talking about? Are you talking about the TSP or the King City Master Plan?
I'm talking about the master plan. I think Michael's talking about the TSP, but
I'm talking about the entire website.
Yeah,
So
no,
if you-
okay, well, there's 3 websites. So you got the TSP in this corner right here for the transportation system plan. I don't know if you can see the screen or not. And then you also have the King City Master Plan right here.
okay,
Okay.
to me, that's all the same.
Michael,
So-
let me interject because I think
Okay,
you're
so
right.
you go here and it'll take you to the
Ronnie,
King
hold
City
on.
Master Plan.
Ronnie, hold on a minute. Ronnie, hold on. What Michael is talking about is our King City website, and he's talking about various links within
Correct.
the website. The website that talks about the government and
Okay.
city council and all of that. And then the links that Michael is talking about, you and Jamie, they're talking about the transportation system plan, the master plan, and all of those things are on the King City website. And
So-
there's concern about the ability, one is not up to date. The other is that, and I think we've had this before, is that the links aren't easily maneuvered to get to the information that we need. So
what links are we talking about? Because there's so many links on the
Yeah.
website that I control.
Well, go to government.
Okay,
Section.
so I do know that the council website is not up to date, and
Yeah.
that I get that. That one
Okay.
I understand.
So go
I don't
to,
have time to do that one right now, but I have somebody helping me out with that one.
Ronnie, can you go to Kingston Terrace master plan real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you do is you're going to click on Kingston Terrace on the homepage. It will take you to the master plan website,
Right.
which looks like this.
go to get involved.
Can,
Go
Okay.
involved.
yeah.
Okay. So in this
So
one,
can I just interject here really quick? I just want to put out one little piece of information about the tabling event that Mr. Myers has brought up, and that we had sent out the notices. We were on schedule to do that tabling event for May 18th. And the press, the place that we send all of our mailers to, our postcard and everything else, it got dropped over there. So they never got it out. So then we're sitting there going, when is this going to hit everybody's mailbox? And it never did. So then we called Minuteman. We said, hey, we sent this over to you a week ago. Why isn't it out? And essentially they had dropped the ball. And so we had to reschedule that tabling event. So I'm not sure if JLA has had a chance to go back in and address the website over at 3J yet. But they're basically the ones that are leading that tabling event through the master plan. But we were also planning on trying to get the TSP together with the master plan for the same tabling event. And now we had to delay all that because it got dropped at Minuteman for the notice, and we didn't have enough lead time to notify everyone prior to the tabling event.
I would just like to reiterate one point, if I may,
Okay.
that at the SAC meeting on May 3rd, 15 days before the tabling event, was the first time I had heard of it. And going to the website a few days later, it wasn't there. There may have been issues with the printer, but when you're talking less than 2 weeks to get something printed and sent out and have people put it on their calendars, and then to find out that the tabling event wasn't going to happen until just a few days prior to the tabling event, which nobody even knew about to begin with because it wasn't even on the website. There's a problem. And this is a recurring problem when it comes to these citizen involvement events. And that's.
All right,
Thank you.
Michael, your points are well taken. Mike has explained to you what went wrong with that particular one, but I do agree that there are improvements that need to be made, and we'll have to dig in and make those things happen, make those changes, and make sure that our website is in fact up to date. There are always going to be some challenges. There's no doubt about that, and the challenges are a wide range when we're talking about dealing with all the different entities built into the TSP and also the master plan, but we can certainly try to do better. And I understand Mike's and also Ronnie's workload is a factor for keeping some of the things up to date, but we still need to commit to doing better, because we do want our citizens to be able to go to the website and get the information and the most current information that is available. So we'll work on that. Your point is well taken. So I thank you, and we will take this offline and try to get these things fixed, okay? All right, thank you, Michael. Let's go back to the agenda, please.
All right, we're still in open forum.
Okay, yeah, I just want to get it back up and find out if there's anyone else that wants to speak during this open forum. Do we have anybody else? Going once, going twice? Okay, I suppose not. So Michael, thank you once again, and we'll move on. Ronnie, could you enlarge the screen a little bit so that it's more visible? Okay. Okay, we don't have any unfinished business. We're going to go to new business. 7.1 House Bill 2001 update. Mike, I'm assuming you're doing that?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give a quick update. We basically got most of our code revisions, finished our audit. We finished all of our elements, reaching out, everything of that nature. What we are planning on doing is holding a public hearing before the Planning Commission on June 9th in regards to this item. That'll be the chance to submit any testimony, any of that jazz, for House Bill 2001 and 2003. The Planning Commission will need to make a recommendation, and we'll be holding a public hearing before the City Council on June 16th. So the following Wednesday at 5:30. So we'll have Planning Commission June 9th, 9:30. And we will have City Council June 6th. Who is that? Can we mute them? Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
And then we will have City Council on Wednesday, June 16th at the regular scheduled time of 5:30. That will be the first reading and first public hearing, or first reading and public hearing before the City Council. All right. So we're about ready to do this. The deadline for the DLC grant, of course, is June 15th. To basically submit all documentation, everything else. We've got all the documentation done. It's just a matter of presenting that to the Planning Commission and meeting our 21-day notice guidelines. So the notices went out, what, today or yesterday, Ronnie? It was today, right?
Today.
Yeah. So that gives us, should be about 23 days until June 9th. All right, calculator, at least 21, should be over 21 anyways, before June 9th to present before the Planning Commission on that one. So that's where we're at on House Bill 2001. So pretty much done at this point in time. All we have are some public presentations and should be good to go.
Okay. Any questions or conversation regarding what Mike just presented? Okay, we'll move on to 7.2, the master plan update. Mike, I'm assuming you're doing that as well?
Well, we kind of already went through the issues that we had. So Mr. Myers brought it up already. We had to cancel the tabling event at the park because of the mix-up over at Minuteman Press. That really put a wrench in our cogs, and now we've had to try to reschedule everything. We still haven't nailed down a date yet. It's unfortunate. We usually try to get the notices out 2 weeks in advance. That's our target, is 2 weeks. It's not 3 weeks. It's not 1 week. It's 2 weeks. So that's what we try to aim for. We are moving along with it. We've come up with some elements. We've come up with some progress here and there. We're still waiting on some elements from the transportation system plan, in particular, a cost analysis, constraints analysis, things of that nature, as well as alternative analysis. So those are all big items that we're waiting on and trying to get before the end of this. So clock's ticking, and we still haven't seen those things from our consultants on that front. So we're still waiting.
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
is Minuteman refunding us or going to somehow make good on this kerfuffle?
Yeah, they're not charging us.
Okay.
They're not for this one.
Yeah, I didn't know. So
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good thing. Thank you. Okay, any further conversation about the master plan update?
no, I mean, there's going to be more on this in the next month or so. We're still waiting on some of the refined figures. We are going back and forth about what our streets are going to look like, what they're supposed to look like, where they're supposed to be aligned. We're talking about every 600 feet for a main arterial or a collector, not a main arterial. Main arterial would be kind of like Roy Rogers. And then you would have your local streets or local collectors, which would be our kind of streets, every 600 and every 200 feet, going north, south, east, west.
Okay.
Other than that, we're looking at where the town center is supposed to be. We've been talking about a linear park stretching from the intersection at Beef Bend and Roy Rogers and going down toward Elsner. And we've also been talking about where the best location for the city center would be. If you'll recall, we initially had the city center at, it would be southeast of Al's Farm and Garden. And right now we're kind of looking at the possibility of it being just due east of Al's Farm and Garden and maybe along the southern edge of Al's Farm and Garden, and then tying up north into River Terrace. So we're just kind of trying to figure out what's the best arrangement to get the most exposure from Roy Rogers and Beef Bend and still have a tie with River Terrace Boulevard and make sure that this is a successful element with plenty of exposure and opportunity. Waiting on reports on that from consultants, and we'll see how it goes. That's really about all I've got on the master plan. I don't really have much more to report on that front.
Okay. Any questions or concerns about the master planning update? Okay. All right, let's move right along. 7.3, HR 1319, American Rescue Plan Act of 21 update. Mike?
The ARP, we still haven't, well, I think we have some of our guidance now, and it's basically the same thing that we knew previously. We don't know when those funds are going to become available to the city, but we're expecting it to be within the next month or two. When those funds become available, what we are proposing is to come up with some sort of essential employee fund or grant fund, so that the employees that worked throughout the pandemic in King City that were considered essential will have an opportunity to qualify and receive grant funds from the American Rescue Plan. That is going to be an administrative headache on one front, but I really believe that if we structure this well, we can really help out a lot of people who have been struggling over the last year or so. So We don't have a lot of broadband in King City. We don't have water and sanitary expenses because those are covered by our agreements with Tigard Water and our agreements with Clean Water Services. So for us, really, the big ticket items are helping struggling businesses and helping those essential employees. And I think that's where we should target our funds. That's what I've got on that.
Hey, Mike, can you give an kind of an idea of just how much kind of overtime and what the hours some of our, especially like our police employees are kind of have done over the last year? Like, just broadly talk about how much of a it has been, right? These
Well, we never stopped working. We're all small, but it's not just us. I think, you know, we need to think about like grocery outlet, like the employees working at grocery outlet, the employees working at like the banks or the other places throughout the King City area that had to work throughout the pandemic and be exposed to, you know, general public. It's almost, the way that it's written is almost like hazard pay for those that worked throughout the pandemic. So I think we just need to look at how we can disperse those funds to those that are in need. Now, what I want to avoid is actually giving it to the employers, because there were all these bailouts for employers throughout this process. Like there were payroll protection programs, there was large and small business grants, but what there really wasn't anything out there for employees. So what I'd like to see this council and this body do is focus on getting these grant funds to the employees of the businesses within King City. And those employees just need to prove to us that they had to work throughout the pandemic and were generally, considered essential or exposed to the public. So I think that's the way that we could try to figure that out.
Okay.
And it looks like we will have that level of flexibility. And I agree with Mike. It looks like the latest information that I've gotten is that funds may start coming, and it's only going to be half. I mean, we're talking about a total of somewhere around $900,000 for King City. Half of it will come maybe mid-June, and then the next piece of that, the next half won't come until 2022. So, but I think Mike is absolutely right. We have businesses, and I'll put the ARCO station in that mix as well as an essential business where people continue to work because people still drove and still needed to go. And we need to figure out how those kinds of businesses can be compensated for that work that was done. So we are in that situation where the other pieces of this, when it talks about broadband and sewer and those kinds of things, we have very limited opportunities there. I mean, because we just don't have broadband issues and sewer issues that would fit into this category. So it's going to take some work and it's going to take some conversation, but I think in the end, it's going to be of great benefit to the businesses and our essential workers within King City when we start really rolling this funding out. So we're going to do it right. We're going to do the best we possibly can to make sure that people truly benefit from this opportunity, okay?
Is this for individuals only who work in King City, or is it for residents of King City who might work at Safeway across the street or a different grocery store? What's the...
Well, that's vague, Kate, because one of the things that it does say in here is that, for community members that may have been impacted. We don't really know how to define that yet or how that really is going to work. There's another meeting coming up, a webinar on the 21st, which is tomorrow at 1:30, and that's being put on by the NLC, the National League of Cities. And any of you are welcome to join in on that, and I will forward that information to you so that if you have time, this is where the information starts to roll out, and I would assume we'll have the opportunity to ask questions. The League of Oregon Cities, the LOC, has been actively involved in this, and on their website, you can go to resources and you can get information that says, I have a question regarding this, and you will get a response. I've already used it. I've already asked that question, when are the funds going to become available? And that's where I got the email that said that the first piece looks like is going to hit in mid-June. Now, keeping in mind, because of the size of our city, our funding is coming from the state. It goes through the state and then to us. The larger cities that are 50,000 and so on, that money is going directly to the cities. So it's a little bit different scenario and a few different layers for us, but I'm confident that everybody is working hard to try to answer all these questions and give us the kind of support that we need in order to make this happen. One of the other things that we have to consider is that a city of our size, a staff of our size, to administer this kind of funding is always going to be a challenge. We saw that with the money that was coming through Washington County for the CARES Act, where we really had to depend on Washington County to administer funding for us to get to our businesses, because we just don't have the resources to administer some of these programs. So we'll see how this works, but I think we're going to come up with a real solid plan so that the people who need it most will in fact benefit from this opportunity.
I would just like to chime in really quick. I think to answer one of Kate's questions, I really think we need to focus in on employees and small businesses within King City, because other cities will have their own grant programs to help their own businesses that are located within their districts and communities. So I think this is an opportunity to help those employees and those businesses within King City.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns regarding the ARP? Mike, that was good. Thank you. And it's a daunting process that with many layers and many questions that still need to be answered. But we're going to do the best we can on this. Okay. No further questions or concerns regarding that? Okay, we'll move on to 7.4, a discussion on gas tax. A survey to King City residents is being produced and going to be mailed out next week, I do believe. Who's talking to it?
I'll start it off, and then I'll hand it over to Ronnie a little bit here. But essentially, you're correct. We are mailing out that survey this week. Should be getting out to everybody. The idea is just to kind of get an idea of what everyone wants to see on this. We've had conversations with Babette from ARCO, as well as Chris from Space Age. And in no uncertain terms, they're opposed to it. Both groups would be opposed to the gas tax. And I think they brought up some really good points based on our current economy and where things have been over the course of the last 2 years, that perhaps now isn't the greatest time in the world to be floating something like this. But I still think we need to go forward with the survey, find out what people think, kind of get those figures back, figure out what we're going to need to do in the future. The gas tax element was a component listed in our transportation system plan for potential funding sources. So I think we need to give it a serious look. Maybe there's elements that we can do to help our 2 gas stations here stay competitive up and down the strip, because they are competitive not only in our area, but regionally in other areas that don't necessarily have a gas tax. And so that's something I think that the council needs to be cognizant of, is what kind of constraints and what kind of challenges are we putting on our local businesses by doing this. I still believe that it's really one of the only ways that we can catch up on fixing and repairing our streets. And it's probably the best way that I see for us to move forward, because it spreads the burden across a lot more shoulders. The other alternative was the registration tax, and that would be solely on the shoulders of King City residents, not those that would be using our roads. So as we explore this option and as we look through these possibilities, I think timeline is something to be cognizant of and thinking about. But I also think it's really important to find out what we get from the survey and the general consensus from the public of King City residents.
And it was important. This was, and keep in mind, we tried this before. The last time we tried it was in 2016. We have, after reviewing what happened in 2016, a few things that we realized. One, we realized that the way the ballot was written made it more complex than it should have been. It can be simplified so that people clearly understand what it is we're attempting to do, what the benefits of it are, and make that clear. The other part of it is we did not have good communication with the gas station owners. And this is the first time that we've had an opportunity, and I thank them, Bobbitt and Chris, for meeting with us so that we can at least understand where their concerns are coming from. Bobbitt of ARCO made it an excellent point about the timing of it. Is it a good idea to do it in November when businesses are still recovering? Would it be more appropriate to do something in 2022, maybe in May? Those are the kinds of things that we got from the conversations. Now, Chris of Space Age, they're a much larger business. They're a much larger corporation. And Chris made it clear to us what their stance is. But I think it was something important that he said. He said, look, I'm not going to try to sabotage what you are attempting to do, but I'm not going to jump up and say that I support it. So, I mean, that's a business, and he's got his business that he's got to be focused on. And I appreciated that. That was very honest and straightforward. And I think both gas stations are in a little different place, but as a city, they're a part of this community. We want them to feel like they're part of this community. We want them to feel as if they're part of the decisions that we make when it comes to our businesses, and whether we're certainly not trying to hurt our businesses, but we're certainly trying to do the best we can to support our community at the same time. So we'll get to the point. I think the survey will give us some much needed feedback from the community on how they feel about it. And then we will make the best business decision that we can for our cities. And, you know, a well-maintained city is very important. Everybody wants to have well-maintained roads. And I think it's going to be very important that we come up with the best business decision to accomplish that. So, council, do you guys have any comments regarding this?
Actually, before we go into that, can we go ahead and do my stuff real quick, and then we'll go into questions so we can hit everything?
Okay.
Okay. So on the screen that you see right now is the mailer that we will be sending out next week to all the King City addresses. They have several ways to get into there. They have the QR code, or just go down to the link down here. I'm going to actually shorten that link to something a little bit more manageable. Gives over a brief discussion of basically what Mike and Ken just said. And then you have 10 pretty simple questions. And so there's the mailer. Let me go to...
Ronnie, can you make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah, absolutely. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so we're trying to make it as confidential as possible. So what we're only asking for is what is your neighborhood that you live in? So basically either that would be the HOA or a street. We don't want people's addresses or anything like that because we want them to feel comfortable in asking these questions or answering these questions. Let me go into the website here real quick.
Hey, Ronnie, have these already been printed?
No, they have not.
Okay.
No, this is just a proof.
Okay, I'm looking at number 3. On a scale of 1 to 10, what number would you give maintaining streets and fixing potholes?
Yeah.
Like maybe, like, it would 10 be?
Yeah, actually online it says that, but it looks like the Minuteman took that off. I'll have them put it back on.
Can I suggest something? That
Yes, absolutely.
before this goes out, we need to reconvene the team, the committee, with Kate, Micah, Pete, Peter, Mike, and I to review this before
Absolutely.
we give it the green light, please.
Absolutely.
Kate, Micah, will you guys make yourselves available to do a review before this hits the ground?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just a proof. This is not the final product.
Yeah, it's just a proof. Same thing with the website. When people go there, they can type in their read the information here. You know, tell us where they're at. Yes, no.
And this hasn't gone live yet either, has it?
No, it has. Nothing has gone live yet.
Okay. All right. We'll need to do a review of all of this.
Yep. So, I'm just going through this real quick, just to show you guys the end of it. So, there's that. I mean, I know I went through that really quickly, but it's pretty simple. 10 questions, less than 2 minutes to fill out. We do have a website that's not live yet, but it will be next week or when we get the final approval. Once that information is added to the webs from the survey, we will have a dashboard here. Kind of breaks down each little place. So,
Is there do people? Can you take it more than once? Like, could I sit here and just take the survey over and over and over?
yes. Well, no, because once I get this set up, I will, there is a tracking for IP addresses. So if you took it on your computer, it will track your IP address and it won't let you do it again.
Okay, so I can max out my devices, but at least it's not endless.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, yeah, there is going to be, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I just have a question. Is
Okay, go ahead.
on the survey, messaging, right, and ensuring that it's really clear where the money goes, because we all know it's gonna, right? So is it clear on the website that the money could only be used for certain things? Like, I can't see all the survey questions, but as the web, I'd like to get people's responses appropriate and accurately, right? In the sense that they don't think that we're just doing a gas tax to pad the city's budget or operational costs or whatever, and that the sidewalks and the maintenance of the road, what we're talking about is the current infrastructure, right now is what our concern is, and that we're not trying to pad the coffers for later, road expansion or something like that. So I just think, I'm sure you guys have looked at that, but is there any kind of question that shows the limit of what the money goes towards?
But I think that's important. That's an important point, Jamie. So when we meet before we release this, that will be clear. I don't know how many of you read the article about this in the Regal Courier, but it was stated in there more than once that these funds will only be used for existing roadways. It has nothing to do with the expansion.
Right.
Nothing whatsoever. So it needs to be clear that this is for existing roads, and it needs to be clear that most of the roads that are in disrepair are the older ones from original King City and so on, and that outlying areas like Edgewater and Bedford Glen and those kinds of places, they aren't there yet. They haven't been, they're not old enough to require this level of attention. They will get there, there's no doubt about it.
Sure.
But I think our residents need to understand that.
Right.
And in terms of sidewalks, we're very, very cautious in how we approach this, because sidewalks will always be the responsibility of the residents who live in those houses, and sidewalks outside of those houses are their responsibility. But it would be ideal if we could, in fact, have some funds available to support the repair as a need-be basis for some residents to take care of those unsafe conditions in front of their house. Those are the kinds of things that we're talking about. So, but nothing will be released until we get more comfortable with the survey and how it's worded and what it's going to say, and that these particular points are very clear, okay?
And I really appreciate you guys sitting down and meeting with the gas station owners. I think that's great. I appreciate that we're all, that their input is very important. And so we're listening to them. And I certainly think pushing this off is the best idea, to just give people a breather from the recovery. Last point, I don't know if anyone saw, but Viva said that she noticed the picture is not of a King City gas station. So we should probably get a picture of the gas station of King City and put it on there instead of just a stock photo. Excellent point, Viva. Of course, now we probably need a picture of both gas stations so that we don't show favoritism, because we love both our stations. So
I think
just throwing that out there.
That's a point well taken. I noticed that it was Chevron.
Yeah.
We don't have a Chevron.
We do not.
All right. Any other questions or concerns regarding this? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie and Mike, for all. And I want you guys to know that Kate and Micah are part of that team that's trying to get this done. And I think we're moving in the right direction. It's going to be a better effort than it was before. I think we're addressing some of the shortfalls that we had in our last effort to do this. So I want to thank them for volunteering to, I think you guys volunteered to be on this team. So thank you.
We're voluntold. Happy to do it.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Next up, 7.5 update on annexation, Bedford Glen and Bradley area. Who's doing that?
I can do that real quick. It's just a real quick recap. So we did send out a flyer or a mailer for people to send back to us. That is a petition if they want to. I've only gotten about four back. I'm going to be sending out a reminder card here, just saying, hey, if you're interested, go ahead and send your petition in. If not, if you want more information, call me or Mike Weston. And so, I mean, that's really it on it. It's pretty simple. I do notice, I'm going to call them out because I like them. Mayor Cook is online. So he lives in the area. So yeah. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, let me know.
Okay. Any questions or concerns from the council? I would love to have John Cook speak about this, but he didn't speak during the public forum, so I don't know if that would be appropriate now.
Sorry, my bad.
So, but thank you for being here, John. And I know that they're probably, just like everything else, we need to make sure that any survey that we put out is clear and is not complex to the point where people don't clearly understand what it is we're trying to do, and to encourage people to want to participate in these kinds of changes to our community. And hopefully the survey did accomplish that, and we could always look for ways to improve how we communicate to our community members. And one of the other things that is going to keep coming up are time frames in which we are asking people to respond. We really need to take that into consideration because people are super busy, and we got to find that window that isn't too short but doesn't give so much opportunity that we don't get the information back to us. So those things all need to be taken into consideration when we do these surveys. Okay. So any other questions or concerns about that? We are going to move forward. We need to do this, and hopefully we will, as time goes on, we will be able to communicate very clearly to these specific areas where the benefits are. And I would suggest that we had a lot of success with the Highlands, with some very specific things that the Highlands community wanted to see happen. We were able to make those things a reality. And with the issues surrounding property tax and the changes related from going to Washington County to King City, a graduated time frame in which to get to the new property tax rate. So we're going to be looking at all those things and try to figure out how we can best do it for these other annexations. Okay. Any questions or concerns? Shauna.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I did receive this information mailer and actually thought it was pretty informative. My biggest concern with the mailer was, and it could have happened like you talked about earlier in the meeting, it could have got stuck in the mailroom and never got sent out, but I received it 6 days before you asked for it to be back. I was out of town camping 4 of those days. So in reality, we had 2 days before we left, which never happened, to actually get it filled out and sent back in. So I think it's really hard when you ask somebody to do something and they have such a short time frame to actually get it done. So I think that's important. When I look through the items that are advantageous for me to annex, 24-hour police coverage, the people that are already in the ESPD already have that. It's just different people that would be covering it. Road maintenance, yes, the county does that, maybe not as often as the city would, but that would be hopeful if the gas tax passed, because otherwise it's about the same. Parking plans and enforcement. On my street, Fisher Road, there really is no parking, so we really don't have to worry about that. Permitting, the county still does permitting too. So for me, the biggest advantage is the representation through local government body, which would be you. So it would be having me speak to you instead of me speak to my county commissioners. So I actually think that's an important one. And I think sometimes people don't realize enough of that it's a lot easier. The smaller the entity is, the easier it is to communicate with the governing body. So I think that one should be really stressed more than even some of the others. I know everybody has their own hot button. For me, the other ones really didn't matter. So for me, that was it. And then the other thing I'd like to point out is you talk about what it might cost a homeowner to do this, and you talk about the costs that it would be for our property taxes, but you don't include the amount that would be reduced from my property taxes through the urban road maintenance district and the urban district for lighting. So there's 2 county taxes that actually would go away. And so this amount you're telling people actually is too high of an amount. So.
Yeah, the attorney and I tried to figure it out. There's a couple of things. So with a few of the houses that were in that area, some would be saving money, some would not be saving money. So Peter Watts and I were like, okay, well, I think this would be safe if we did it this way, because we don't want to lie to people. Yeah. Yeah. Mike,
So
do you have
I
anything?
take it, it sounds like we actually have longer to turn these in.
Yes, we actually have a 2-year process to collect the signatures and then record it and then move forward with the annexation. But yeah, we probably should have had a longer timeline on that. So
Yeah, it seems like every time I do any kind of survey, Miller, or anything like right now, I need to, I guess, account for 4 weeks extra because the mill's not working very well right now.
I'd figure a month at least.
Yeah.
Well, we'll work on that, John, and try to make sure we do better on this, okay?
And Councilor Thompson, I believe you had a comment in your hand raised.
Shauna, can you hear us?
I think Councilor Thompson may be frozen.
I think she might be.
She's not moving, so I think she's frozen.
All right, well, when she comes back, we can let her back in.
Okay. John, were you done? John?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. I appreciate it very much. Okay, any other questions or concern about annexation? And we'll keep an eye on Shauna to see if
She's back.
Shauna?
I lost you guys.
Yeah, you were frozen. Okay, go ahead.
What did I miss? I don't know what I missed. I was gone for a few minutes.
Oh, I thought you had a question.
Oh, I did. Mr. Cook addressed it though, so I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's move on. The final item on the agenda
Mr. Mayor, Dave has his.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I don't know if this applies in the new area that we're working on annexation. But I do know that when we resolved all of the costs and the relative savings and so on and so forth for the Highlands, the charge that we were getting from the county for maintenance of the street light system actually went over to the city and resulted in a benefit to each of the homeowners. And it almost washed out the difference in the tax.
Okay. That's good.
That's my understanding too, Dave. When I do the calculations and I add the urban reserve sheriff's department, urban streets, urban lights, and all the other little things that Washington County tax on, and then you wipe those off and put ours in place, then we should be below, or I mean, it's nominal, but we're still below.
Right. Okay. So I guess there was just a little concern of how to explain that if it wasn't going to be across the board, is what I heard Ronnie say. So we just need to be cautious on what promises we make in that arena. I guess that's really the concern. So
I can tell you it was a real challenge explaining it when we went through it.
Right. Yeah. It's not real cut and dry.
Is there a way to provide a resource or direct someone to a resource where they could figure that out and say, instead of saying, say it may reduce, it may reduce to lower than your county assessment, and here's the Washington County phone number you could go and call, or.
Okay, so really each house would have to look at their own taxes, and that's what Peter and I did. We looked at 10 houses, and it was an average of either they were paying $12 more or they were saving $50. So it's kind of hard to
Got it.
put that
Okay.
down. But really, to answer your question, is they just can go to the county website, look up their tax lot information, and plug in our numbers for their number,
Right.
or for Washington County numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
All right. Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that very much. The next topic on the agenda, 7.6, State of the City. You know, we've done it a few different ways. You know what we did in 2019. It was the grand opening of the new city hall after the remodel, and it was a big fanfare. It was a big to-do. It was quite the event. But 2020 rolls around and everything changes, and we haven't really used our city hall for anything like that in quite some time. What we did last year, basically I recorded a presentation that was aired, and we had a couple other pieces to it where we had some videos that were shown. Fast forwarding to this year, the plan is to have the State of the City next month. And I think the tentative date that we have is June 16th. I think that's the date. And I want to discuss my thoughts on what we should do. This year is going to be basically a live presentation. I still am not interested in doing anything with big fanfare and all of that. And I'm still under the impression that it should be virtual. But I really think it's an opportunity for all of the council to have a piece of this. I don't want to be in a situation where it's just me talking or Mike, but I think it's a good opportunity for each counselor to figure out a piece that you would like to talk to for that State of the City. Everybody knows what's going on with COVID. Everybody knows that we have the UGB piece. Everybody knows that there's a budget piece, and there's the community piece that we will always have some conversation about. But I'm hoping that with every piece that is going to be discussed in the State of the City, that you as a counselor will have an opportunity to select a topic that you would like to talk about for 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever we decide is going to be, and introduce yourself and talk about something that's important to you that's going on in this city. That's my thought. Now, Ronnie, you can put up the agenda that we used in 2019. I think that's the one. Do you have that?
Yeah, so that's
What it is. Could you enlarge that, please? I can't.
I'm sorry, Mayor, what?
Can you enlarge that, please?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're seeing right now is the agenda for the State of the City in 2019. And as you can see, I kind of kicked it off. Then we had guest speaker Maria Pope, who spoke. And then I came back with some acknowledgements. And at the time, we were kind of had some specific categories that were the treasurer, the secretary, and the council president. And therefore, that's why John Boylston, Gretchen, and Jamie spoke. So that's kind of the way we did it. We had Ernie, who had a presentation related to the levy that we were getting ready to move forward. And we had Mike, of course, do UGB. And then I close it out with a call to action. we can do something very similar to this, but I would really want each one of you to have a piece of it. This is about all of us. You know, it's not just about me. It's not just about what Mike or Jamie has to say. So I need to hear from you and to start formulating the possibility of what you might want to talk about as we build this agenda. I don't know that we're going to have any guest speakers yet. Maria Pope has always participated. We don't have an answer to that yet, or some other outside entity that might want to speak. I'm not discouraging that, but my priority is to have each one of you participate in this. So I'm all ears. Who wants to talk first on your thoughts?
I think it's a great idea. Are you wanting to come up with a list and we kind of pick from the list things you want covered?
I think not. I don't want to be the one to say this is what you need to talk about. You know, you guys know what's going on in this city, and you know, you have certain things that you know you want your community to know about, and whether it's about something that you have a passion for or that you want the community to be more involved in, those are the kinds of things that I think is real talk, is, you know, communication, and it is about individuals who are volunteering their time to make this city the best it can be. And this is what I want you to know about why I'm here and what we're trying to accomplish.
I think this is a great idea. And I, just to throw out a potential topic, I would love to speak about the park improvements and how it has become a place where a community can gather, where we see people every day, and how we can continue to make this a center point of our city.
Okay, there's a topic right there. Write that down. Micah has just identified his topic. And you really don't have to answer it today though, but that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So Kate, to answer your question, if you give it some thought and the kind of thing that you want to talk about, we will have to communicate via email once we get a basic idea of what everybody's going to talk about, so that there's no real duplication. But, you know, if we can just kind of have an idea today what you might want to talk about, I think that'd be of great benefit. So yeah, I think, Micah, that's great. Kate, I'm going back to you.
Did you say you're going back to me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I could talk about anything, Mr. May. Give me a topic and I'll rattle some things off. But I could talk about community involvement from the perspective of someone who became more involved in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Like how to get started with that.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a good thing to hear about.
Okay. That sounds good. All right. Think about that. Let's let that fester for a little bit. Jamie?
Oh, Mayor, you know, I'd like to think for a little while. How about
Okay.
that? And come back. Obviously, you know, I want to speak, so. But let me mull it over. Especially, I'd like to give an opportunity to the others to speak. So.
Okay.
I'll give it some thought and circle back.
That's perfectly all right. And if you don't have an answer tonight, but this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for. Smart.
Yes, I think I agree with everyone. This is a great opportunity for us to be able to continue with that relationship that we have with the community. They elected us based on what we put out to say, this is what my expectation is to serve on this council. And they gave us the, yes, go in there and represent us. For me, I think the way we interact with the homeowners association is a great thing for me. We find ourselves representing the council in these meetings. And I think what that has done for our community is a way that it keeps us clean, right? I've had friends that come visit and they say, wow, this place looks really clean. And some of them come and say, this place looks really nice. And that's because we have all these great associations that are really doing their job and staying on top of things. And we participate in those meetings to show how committed we are as a council, wanting to hear from them and bringing what is being discussed at the council to these meetings, because not a lot of them have time to join us during these regular council meetings. And so when we go to those meetings, we're able to interact with the community and share with them what's going on here. So I think that's a great opportunity that I'd like to.
Martin, you're starting to break up.
What part did you lose me? Sorry.
Just 30 seconds.
Okay. All right. So I was just trying to say it's good that we interact with our communities through our homeowners association and other forums that we use to reach out to the community. It's a great thing. We have had a number of developments and activities being handled by these people, and that are also volunteering themselves. And we are kind of like able to bring to them what we discussed during our meetings here at the council meetings, and also bring back what they are discussing at that level of community interactions and relationships and everything else. Mm-hmm. So it's very good for us to be able to acknowledge what those groups are doing and how we're able to interact with them.
Right. Okay.
And the security that we have is also all part of that, because the neighbors communicating and everyone just coming together and doing what we need to do, sharing what we see on next door and things like that. That all really helps to keep our community really tight and neat.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. I appreciate that, Smart, and I think that could be a benefit for sure. Let's go to Dave Platt.
Well, I have two thoughts that have kind of crossed my mind, but one that is maybe taking precedence right now. I would like to talk about our police department and the support that we need to give to our police department, and also why we need the gas tax. And I think I'd like to expand on that.
That sounds good. I like it. All right. Dave, thank you. Shauna.
Yeah, I would love to be involved. I think it's a great idea to give all of us an opportunity to talk about what we love about King City. I was just thinking about the future of King City and how excited I am on a personal level for having an opportunity to be able to walk or bike with my family to local businesses. So I'm really looking forward to having a town center kind of area with a way to easily access those on foot or on bike. So I would love to focus my couple minutes on that topic.
Okay, that sounds good. I think that'd be great. Okay, so you kind of get a sense for where we're going to go with this. And what I would recommend is that if Ronnie, Mike, let's lock down the dates. So, and Mike, I won't assume that you are going to talk about what you always talk about, the UGB expansion. You might have a different topic you want to talk about this time. So I want to hear from you too, Mike.
I was just thinking I'd like to talk about, how nice the water of the Tualatin's looking these days, No, I talk enough about urban growth boundary expansions and everything else. You guys hear a lot from me. I'm perfectly content just shutting up, but if you need me to talk about it, I will be happy to extrapolate on where we're at with it. I imagine by June, we should have some significant elements delivered from the transportation system plan. Mm-hmm. That might be a good topic for a counselor to take. Counselor Thompson mentioned trail connections and bike ped. I think that's a good element out of our transportation system plan. We could talk about being one of the few, you know, city halls or city services that are still doing passports. You know, everyone pretty much stopped doing it, so we're pretty much it with Beaverton. So there's that. There's the art mosaic at the park, street maintenance. There's a number of things that everyone's been working on over the course of the last couple of years that we could definitely discuss.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that doesn't get really discussed much is the function of the city. You know, all of the things that we're really working on and involved in. To give an overview of that, we get so inundated with the specific projects. I don't think people really understand all that the city does. You know, that might be a different kind of thing for you to talk about. And, you know, when you talk about all these different entities that we have to be involved in order to run this city, you know, with changing of ordinances and the passports and all of those kinds of things, I think it would be a good idea to maybe have some conversation about those kinds of things, as opposed to, you know, we know the projects and we know that they're important, but when we talk about the state of the city and the kinds of things that are constant for you guys to have to accomplish on any given day, you know, is important for people to understand too.
Yeah, I mean, there's 5,000 to 6,000 people in King City, and there's like a handful of us.
Right, right.
To handle all their cares, concerns, and complaints, and you know, each one of those takes time. You know, it takes time to craft a response. It takes time to go out and investigate the situation. It takes time to, you know, go down and work at the park. It takes time to, you know, answer questions at the front, or taking a permit, or taking a passport. Like, all these elements are like little chunks of our time out of the day, but they all mount up, and they all carry value of some sort or another to our residents and our community. So
if
important.
I think that might be of great value. So if with a timeline now says that, when do we need to lock down what we're going to talk about? Ronnie, is the 16th the date? So if we say the 16th is the date, we need to be locked in at least a week before. If any of you need to do any kind of a presentation, a slideshow, or anything like that, that you need to have shared, then a week out is still going to be okay, because that means you just have to have that prepared and ready for Ronnie to share during the presentation, or you can share it yourself, whichever you prefer. But a week out ought to be enough time to be able to do that. And, you know, for me, you know, I just want to be able to talk about the overall picture of what it is we're trying to do here, you know, and to, I'm going to talk about you guys and how important you are to this city, you know, because I don't think people really understand it. And I see you guys with all that you have to do, working, raising families, and doing all these things. And I don't think people truly understand how important you are. And I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about how the accomplishments that we've had is really based on the hard work of people who are volunteering time and not getting paid to do it. Volunteering your time, okay? That's what you're doing. And I think people need to understand that. There's another piece to this that I still don't think people understand, the difference between the HOAs and the city. You know, there was an article written in, I think a letter to the editor in the Regal Courier, and the way the person wrote this opinion piece, I don't think it was real clear whether they were talking about the city or they were talking about the KCCA. And I'm pretty sure they were talking about the KCCA, but the average reader reading that would not have known necessarily that it wasn't a city issue. But those are the kinds of things that I think we can communicate better on and have people better understand, you know, as a community. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Do we see any downfall to taking this approach?
I think it sounds great.
I think that's great too, because I always tell, or Mike and I are always telling people the difference between the HOA and the city.
And you know, I think there's so much benefit in real talk, you know, getting in front of people and talking, as opposed to having some ultra prepared presentation. Okay, you know what I'm saying? You know, we need to talk to the people. We need to let them know that we're communicating with them during that time period. So I think that will be of great benefit.
Mr. Mayor, and I know maybe you're going to get to this a little bit later, but you know, after this next State of the City address that we have in June, which we really can't really change now, but like come July, we can probably start looking at the potential for in-person meetings and things of that nature.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up when I did my report out, but this is probably a good time to go ahead and segue into that conversation, because now the masking mandates are being basically lifted. I just got word that Washington County is going into lower risk because we've reached that 65% for vaccinations. And I'm assuming that most of us may have been vaccinated by now. I know that I have. And so there are two sides to this piece, you know, and I know that virtual has become somewhat comfortable for a lot of us. You know, when you're talking about on that road and trying to drive from here to there, my question has to be, are we ready to go live again? Or are we ready to go some hybrid form where you have the option of being in the council versus being at home or in your office virtually? Let's just go around the room and get some thoughts. Kate, why don't you go first?
Thank you. I would have a really hard time making it only in person, because I feel like it would just remove access for so many of our community members. And I don't know if there was an opportunity to participate virtually before. I know that we have it streaming, right? It's on TV so people can watch. But I would just wonder what that would look like next, like in the next phase, you know, can people still be with us like they are now, if they're not physically with us?
So the question is, if we all go back to the council, can people still tune in virtually and participate? Is that the question?
I know they can tune in, but can they, do they have to call in to participate? Or do they have to be there? Like, what is that?
We can set it up all different ways. I mean, like Mayor said, it could be a hybrid. It's not too hard for me to set up a Zoom on one of the TVs in there, and so you guys have a face to actually talk to. And then TVC TV is still going to be recording our TV show, or I'm sorry, our meetings, our meetings on you know, every third Wednesday, because we have a camera in there ready to go. Long story short, you know, we got that camera, and then COVID hit and we haven't used it. So,
so let me clarify. If we have on our link for the agenda, we still have a Zoom link. Our residents can tune in on Zoom, and when we get to public forum, we would, even if we were in the council, we would be able to see them on a monitor
Yep.
and have that conversation with them while we're in the council.
I would need to do a little bit of IT stuff in there. Instead of having one computer, I will need two because I don't know if you've ever worked with Zoom and camera work on one computer. It is very hard.
There would definitely be some challenges.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be perfect the first time.
Right.
But once we get the hang of it, yeah. I have the access to the TVs that, goes to the computers, or the computer. So that's the only other thing that you need to consider is getting one more computer for that room so I can have two monitors to work on.
Okay. So Kate, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I would hate to, in some ways we've been more open and more accessible.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'd like to keep that as an option.
Okay. So now keeping in mind that when we're sitting in the city council shoulder to shoulder, we will not be able to social distance. Anybody, do you have any concern for that, Kate?
I don't. I'm personally comfortable being around people. I'm vaccinated. I have, like my parents are, and I have a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old who won't be, but I'm comfortable with that. It will be weird to be sitting next to each other and not looking at each other.
Yeah. It'll be different. I mean, you wouldn't think that we would have to make that kind of adjustment, but we've gotten used to this now. But it's true. So, okay, Jamie, what are your thoughts?
I echo what Kate. I don't think we should ever go back to only in-person meetings. I think this last year and a half has really taught us that we can easily have people access us through video linking. So I think we should always have a hybrid. I personally prefer in-person meetings for council. I think I would like to go back to us having in-person meetings, but have a Zoom capability for residents to participate if they don't want to or can't come in person, right? And then I am also fully vaccinated. I'm comfortable meeting in person. I would assume that I'm assuming that eventually, right, those who are not vaccinated, we encourage to wear masks. And then anyone who's not vaccinated, I'm comfortable being around that. So I think we have a social responsibility to encourage, people to wear masks if they are not vaccinated. And, but that's how I agree with Mike. I don't think, especially because we have canceled our 4th of July event due to kind of health and safety concerns. I think it would be kind of irresponsible to have anything prior to July. So I think the earliest we should be looking at is our August meeting.
Okay, point well taken. And let me back up a minute. The other thing that we want to talk about, I want you to think about, if we're going back to live meetings, is the time of the meeting. Okay, we've gotten kind of used to doing 5:30,
Yeah.
And council live was at 7. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go back to Kate. Your thoughts on the time of the day, even as we go back to live. I mean, because this would be the great opportunity to make any kind of adjustment that we need to make in terms of the time of the day that we meet.
Well, I think that, I, as an individual, 5:30 works great, 6 works great, 7 works great, whatever. But as people are going back to work outside of their home and have commutes, we might want to look at pushing that back so that we're not having meetings when it's hard for people to attend. As an example, not to open a can of worms, but planning commission meetings are tough to attend.
9:30 in the morning, yeah.
Yep, because they're during the workday. And so I would, say maybe push it back, even if we push it back a little bit to 6 o'clock. That might 7 seems like it might be a little later than necessary. I guess the idea there is that someone can come home and have dinner and then so I'm not sure about that.
Okay. All right, Jamie, your thoughts on?
I kind of agree. I think as people plan to go back to work, 5:30 is just too hard. And from me personally, selfishly, I like eating dinner with my kids and being able to put them to bed and then go off to council. So 7 o'clock has always worked well for me, but I think 6 o'clock is too early. So I think if we wanted to move it up a little bit, 6:30 would be a good compromise, or to keep it at 7. You know, the CPO 4K starts at 7. A lot of the Washington County committees that are in the evening start at 7. So, you know, it would be interesting to hear from those tuning in who are residents to get their idea, if anyone wants to volunteer their response as far as like, you know, what they prefer, but that's just my 2 cents for me personally.
Okay. All right, let's go to Smart.
Yes, I think all great concerns there and great points for when we get back into in-person activities again. It's a challenge. I mean, like Jamie and Kate just mentioned, when we all start going back to our in-person work again, the commute and everything else will be a challenge. I mean, we've all been considering that in terms of like, what would that do? It will be like another new normal. We'll try to start getting to learn how to get back to. You know, the challenges will be so much. I mean, we've been talking about how even just the regular things we do right now that we've been doing it for over a year now, we'll start slowly transforming into like any other environment that's outside of our home workplace right now. And so for me, I think I agree with everyone to make it sometime later, sometime when probably everyone is able to get the vaccination because it's becoming available. And I think a lot of plans are in place right now to even make it, to get it lower to the ones that are younger in the homes. Right now it's 12 to 15, and so they're looking into other ones for people that have younger family members that would be concerned. So yeah, I think all of those are things that have to be taken into consideration. Between now and August timeframe or September timeframe, I foresee a lot of people being vaccinated, and that should maybe make it a little bit more easier. But it's good to start planning. It's good for us to start talking to it right now. But personally, I'm okay with it. And again, I'm also okay with starting, maybe going back to our 7 p.m. for those of us that commute and things like that. And other people that would like to also join maybe later in the evening after taking care of other family activities like dinner and everything else that everyone has mentioned. That's my thing.
All right, thank you. Micah.
I agree with everything that's been said regarding getting back to in-person meetings, but doing it hybrid and allowing people to get to access it virtually. I like 7 o'clock, to be honest, just again, because of the commute from work, getting the kids set up with dinner and then being able to go into the into town for the meeting. That works best for me personally. So yeah, I think I pretty much disagree with what everybody else has already presented.
Now, when we talk about hybrid, we were talking about residents, but do we need to have the ability for you as counselors to Zoom in when necessary, as opposed to having to be in the council chambers? I don't know if we actually asked it that way. When we were talking about virtual and a hybrid, we were talking about residents. But does that option need to be available to you as counselors as well, to be able to tune in virtually when those days are necessary for you? Mike, I'll stay with you. And do you think that option needs to be there?
I'm kind of torn on that because I almost feel like that could be more distracting than having all of us in one place doing that.
Yeah.
Though at the same time, I'm all for what would provide the most access to the most people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's important. I just don't know the logistics of that versus somebody, a participant, a community member who is needing to ask a question versus, a counselor who's needing to be maybe more engaged throughout the whole meeting.
So, and I'm going to pose that question to the others, but does this pose any challenges in terms of the rules of how we conduct business if we were doing hybrid? And I'm looking at Mike to see if, does that create any challenges in terms of the rules surrounding council meetings?
No, I don't believe so. I think you'd still it'd be the same as if a counselor was calling in.
Okay. Okay.
Our city charter is very clear on what we can and cannot do. So, and yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right. Dave.
Well, I feel that we should get back to in-person. I'd like to see the entire council every time it's possible. And I know that I'm involved in 3 or 4 of this type meeting every month. And I can tell you that I'm tired of virtual meetings. And I'd like to get back to face-to-face. I just think it's a better environment. As far as the time doesn't matter a lot to me, but I think we ought to consider people that would like to be involved that are working and won't be home early, and accommodate them to the best of our ability.
Okay.
I do think it's a good idea to have the virtual ability for outside folks outside of the council to be involved, and it makes it far easier for them.
Okay. All right. Much appreciated, Dave. Shauna.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Dave. I miss the in-person meetings as well. I think that by August, I'm going to feel comfortable being in person. I guess my question is, can we or should we ask for people to show their vaccination cards to make us all feel a little safer? Can't do that? I see Ronnie shaking his head no. Okay.
I say yes, but
We can actually do that.
No.
so I think it's HEPA rules. I think I don't think.
No, so let me just clarify for everyone. Okay, so you can't require people to share amongst each other. Like you can't say in a group email your vaccination emails, right? But you as an entity can privately request, right? So if you said, okay, in order for you to attend in person, you need to confirm that you're vaccinated. And you can do that on like an individual one-on-one basis. And that is not a HIPAA violation, right? So
Even, does that include the public attending the meetings?
sorry?
Would that include the public attending the meetings?
Yep. Any business can require anyone to show a vaccination card, and it is not a HIPAA violation. It's only a HIPAA violation if the information is disseminated or asked, in other ways. But to gain access into a building or into a store or right place of business, it's not a HIPAA violation.
Now, is the caveat that you can, if you're not vaccinated, then you must wear a face covering?
Correct.
And do social distancing. So, if a person doesn't want to provide that information, they have a choice, either provide the information or wear a face covering.
Correct.
That's what, now for us as a team, we need to feel comfortable I think most of us have openly said, that we've been vaccinated. So it's not a mystery, and we're not trying to hide anything. And I would, venture to guess that we will all at the point of starting up again will in fact be vaccinated. But if any one of you decided that you don't want to be vaccinated, it's just a matter of being honest with it. Then we'll require that you wear a face covering.
Yeah, I'm fully vaccinated. I just have several family members that have health conditions, and so I'm extra protective of passing something on to them.
Right.
I would love to be in person, as long as we have that caveat in there that people need to show the public needs to show their vaccination cards or wear a face covering, and then I'm stoked to be part of it. As far as the time, I'm okay with pushing it back. I'm a little more comfortable with like the 6:30 time, but if 7 is what the majority goes with, then I'm fine with that too.
Okay. All right.
I would just like to say, just as a reminder, you do have, the further back you push this, the longer and more time you're wasting of staff members. So from my standpoint, I think 6 o'clock is right down the heart of the middle of this thing and is more than reasonable. 7 o'clock, then we're pushing it to 10 o'clock at night. You guys talk about seeing your family. Well, we don't get to see our family.
That's right. It's all day. I understand. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we can compromise on this, and I think that 5:30 is too early when we do it in person. I would love to see us start with 6 o'clock, see if we can make that work, do our best, and count on our first live meeting being in August.
Woohoo!
Like that.
Okay, so do we need a motion and a second on this? We might as well. Those couple
So
of
moved.
We're motioning to
Dave
Sorry.
just made the motion.
well,
I can go ahead and state it.
yes.
I make a motion that beginning with our August council meeting, the meeting will start at 6 o'clock PM on the third Thursday,
Live,
correct?
In person.
in person.
In person.
Yes.
third Wednesday.
Do we have a second?
Second? Nope.
Oh, Micah, did you second it?
I did.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. All right. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you guys. Okay. So that's all we had on the agenda. So just let me recap. So I want you guys to kind of think about what you're going to talk about. And you can just fire off an email to me and we'll try to coordinate this. And if you have any kind of presentation, slides, or anything like that, we need to have it done a week in advance. And we will put together a final agenda after I receive an email from all of you on what your topic is going to be. Okay.
If anybody wants to do a presentation but isn't sure how, I'm happy to help you. So if you want to put something together, share something, I can help you, any of you with that.
Okay. And keep in mind, I want you guys to feel very comfortable having this conversation, more informal than formal, but, just, talking to our people about what is on our minds. Okay. So I will be the point person for what your topics are going to be, and we'll formulate the agenda. Ronnie, any indication that any of our outside businesses want to participate in this?
Not this year.
Okay, all right, and that's fine. I'm fine with that. So we'll get this thing together and move on. Okay. So thank you guys. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. So Let's go around the horn. I see Ernie is Ernie still there? I see his name. Ernie?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey, Ernie, how you doing?
Good.
What do you got for us?
Just real quickly, just about the only new thing that others might have heard. We've made a contingent job offer to a recruit officer. And I know he took a psych today, got a medical and background to pass, but if those are successful, the new officer would start July 1st.
Okay.
And that's all I got for right now.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. That's exciting. I met him yesterday, or yeah, I guess that was yesterday. And he's a fine young man, so I'm looking forward to having him on. Okay.
Good job, Bernie.
All right. Mike.
I don't have too much that's all that we haven't already discussed with the master plan, TSP, House Book 2001. Just, it's been busy. It's like everyone's coming out of hibernation and they've got a stack of stuff they want to get done. So
Okay.
it has been chaos. Passports are going off the hook. I mean, they're not as bad as it used to be. I think we used to get about, well, we'd have record days of like 70 a day. I think now we're averaging anywhere from 20 to 30. Our hours are less now than what they were before, but it's still hectic. Like, we still have people lining up at the door before the doors are open. We have them lining up at the door during lunch. It's just, with the closing of the other passport offices throughout our area, it's really put a burden on us. We also have one member of our staff who's probably going to be leaving on maternity leave here in the near future. So that adds extra burden as well. The park is looking great. I don't know if anyone has seen all the work that Dave's put in down there. And I go down there on Tuesdays and help him out mowing the place and get it cleaned up. We have had some concerns with some potential poison oak and ticks, I think. Not sure I can do much about ticks in the woods, but poison oak, we went out and we did try to spray for any poison oak, but we didn't really see any. So just be cautious of that. What else can I just say? The staff continues just to do a great job here and spread their hours thin. I know Brian and Ernie are working street and doing admin time right now, trying to fill gaps. We had one officer that just decided that they were going to go out on military leave voluntarily on their own fruition and put us in a bit of a bind. So trying to get some clarity on what our actions are on that particular situation and what we need to do. Yeah, that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mike. Let's go. Kate, what do you have?
I don't have any updates for anyone today.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. You've participated. That's perfectly all right. All right, Jamie.
All right. So I have a few updates. So first is, I don't know, did everyone see the video about the art project that I made on social media? Probably not. So if you want me to share my screen real quick, I can do that so you guys can watch it. It's 44 seconds.
44 seconds.
Do you want to see it?
We can handle that, yes.
Okay. So Ronnie will just need to let me share my screen. Okay. So let's see. Desktop. I'm going to share my desktop. Okay, can you all see a white square?
Yep.
Okay. So here is, let me move this over. The public art is coming to King City. And I think that's it. Okay, so that was a little video we put out on, oh, sorry, last page, our thank you page. So we put the video out on social media. So, and then for everyone to know, there's going to be 3 community, oh, I should stop sharing. Here we go. You can have to not see my, all right. So there's, in June, there's going to be 3 events for public engagement with the project. And for those who don't, I had this antiquated understanding of mosaic tiling. So the mosaic is going to go around the pony walls that are down at the park on both sides. And we have 3 events where the community is going to actually create sections of the mosaic. And so I had in my mind that the mortar would go on the pony walls, and then Mark, the artist, would place, the pieces into the mortar. And that is not how they do it anymore. So what happens now is there's kind of a mesh section, and then you place the tiles on that with adhesive, and then he takes care of the kind of more permanent adhesion with the mortar and so forth. And then he places it on the pony walls in sections. So 3 events will be happening in June where people will be doing sections of little of the mosaic. And then that also allows, which was kind of a question that we had about quality control with events with the public, right? We want to make sure that it all looks consistently lovely. And so this also gives him the opportunity to do that. So Mark Brody, just a little bit of background, he's done some public artworks in some other cities, but he's also an art instructor. So he's very used to instructing both kids and adults. And he will be at these events. It's going to be socially distant, and he's going to have some other art instructors with him. So we'll be engaging with the Deer Creek PSO and trying to get that, there's going to be postcards that will be mailed out to everyone shortly, informing them of the dates. They're going to sign up. You're going to be able to register for the event through the foundation website, and that will go live probably the end of May, and it's going to be great. So then a few of the things that are on the radar, obviously Viva presented the kind of spring clean event. That's fun. We've also organized Taco Tuesday over the summer for July and August. Woohoo! Taco Tuesday. So our favorite taco vendor is coming every other Tuesday in July and August. We'll publish the dates. And also at the same time, we've organized Kona Ice to come, so you can have both your tacos and some snow cones. And then one of the other things, we are also partnering with the Deer Creek PSO to do one of those nights as a dine out fundraiser for the PSO. So we're very excited about that. 4th of July has been canceled, unfortunately. So we will probably put out some, we're going to try to see if through social media we can encourage some fun activities in the community that people can do on their own. But once Tigard canceled theirs, then, we really had no other option but to cancel ours. Funny enough, I did get a call from the city of Happy Valley, who knew King City was known for its fabulous 4th of July event. And they wanted to know if we were canceling it this year or going forward. And we are, so we talked about that. Anyway, they are going to cancel theirs as well. Lastly, Mark, I saw Kate just shared the website for Mark Brody. You can go check out his website. He's also been sharing some updates of the kind of imagery. So if there's going to be a card, it's the King of Spades, and then there will be a Queen card that will be as well. It's not the most prominent feature. There's going to be a kind of a sunscape and flowers and butterflies and so forth. So it's kind of a very interactive and then kind of thing. And then there's lettering. I can't remember. It's going to say King City Community or King City. I can't remember what it's going to be written out, but as it develops, so the grand unveiling of our public art will be in September. And then, but we will have updates throughout the week. Mark and I are getting interviewed on Friday by Scott Keith. And so they're going to run an article in the paper about it. And then we will organize a huge to-do in September. And we are going to invite all the mucky mucks to King City to come see our first public art. So I think that might be everything for right now. Have lots of other things cooking, but I'll bring those updates when it's come more to fruition. Oh, last thing though. I am going to spearhead a task force. I got the mayor. I called Mayor Ken and got the blessing. We're gonna spearhead a task force to put together and look at getting river access in King City. And so currently through the foundation, we're gonna start looking at what stakeholders need to be on that task force and really start figuring out in line and time for, I'm envisioning a long time frame, but we're gonna do that. And then the other long-term goal is a community garden. So we are going to go forward with putting together a team to look into all of that. And then lastly, this is it. I'd like to, we all know everyone at the city is just drowning in work right now. So what I would really love to do is to have some some help to Ronnie and Mike to take over, to see how they can help. So for example, one thing is I know that Ronnie is kind of behind on minutes and so forth. So I don't know if that's something, Mike, that one of us can volunteer for, right? Or proofreading or, putting together some notices or, whatever. But I would encourage us to figure out a way that over the next couple of months, if we could just help with some of the backlog of some of the more clerical administrative things. I know I certainly am willing to volunteer to take some of that on. I think it's hard for us when we don't know what is appropriate or what we can do. So I think I would just ask everyone on the council to let Mike know that you're willing to, Mike and Ronnie, that you're willing to volunteer some clerical hours to help. And then maybe Mike, you and Ronnie, I know it's a pain to take time out to try to delegate tasks, right? But if there are a few things like that, let's just get on it and pitch in and help out, right?
Right, that'd be awesome. I mean, I think just catching up on minutes and trying to fix some of those issues with the website, I think those would be key elements and take some of the weight off Ronnie's shoulders at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Oop, Annie Paulson just said she's available to help too. Viva is also excellent at proofing, so I'll voluntold Viva if she's,
Right.
So.
Yeah, if you all are vaccinated, I mean, we're here from, well, Ernie and I are usually here bright and early in the morning. Dave usually shows up around 7. Ronnie, Mira, Sam usually pulling around 9. But we're here basically until, throughout the day. The only time
maybe we should create a volunteer office hour, like a 2-hour, some type of period where you can drop in and do some stuff.
Right, that'd be awesome. I mean, if you guys want to swing by, we can definitely pick some days and times and let you know. Ronnie can let you know what his schedule is, because he's going to have to be off the front desk in order to pass those off to you.
Yeah.
All
All right. Let's work on that, Mike. Mike and Ronnie, let's work on that, and we can circulate even a doodle or something, and let's just get some hours of volunteer going, because
at least get caught up. The other thing that's frustrating me right now is where we're at with financials. I think we're a few months behind on financials too. So
so I mean, if there's stuff we could take off of Mira and
I don't actually think it's in Mira's realm right now. I think it's in our accountant, Mike Morris.
Okay, I got it. Well, whatever we can do to help, I know that all of us are willing to pitch in. So let's get a few hours on the, in there and do it.
Yeah, that's
Right.
outstanding.
I can definitely get behind that.
Okay. All
That's
right.
it. I'm done.
Well done. Smart.
Yes, I only have one thing to report today. I finally was able to get the water advisory board, get on that meeting invite, and participated in a number of meetings. But the one thing that I wasn't able to get a clarification on was our what role we play. Mike, I was told we no longer have voting rights on that due to our agreement with them. And I think Sue said she reached out to you because I had kind of noticed I wasn't I wasn't on the minutes that from the previous meetings I attended the meetings, but I wasn't, King City wasn't listed. And that was when she reached out. She said she already reached out to you regarding what role we play in the new agreement. So the last 2 meetings I've attended, I wasn't able to vote because I said we don't have voting. We're not able to vote on the board anymore. With that said, Mike, I think I'll get with you maybe offline to discuss more about that, to know if it's something that I don't know what she said in the email. She said she sent that to you. I think John Goodrich also said he mentioned that to you and clarified.
John Goodrich sent me an email, yes. It's a lot to unpack. There's, we have a pretty decent water agreement with them right now. And they're trying to get us under this one that they got Durham and Tigard Water District under, but it's less favorable terms than the one we have currently. So that's why we've been reluctant to move forward on it.
Okay.
And then we are looking into potential connection at the Willamette water supply, just for redundancy potentials in our systems. In case one system fails, we have another. But again, for some reason, John Goodrich over there at Tigard and others, they don't want it. And I think it's mostly to prevent us from getting a negotiation piece. That's what I see anyways. I could be wrong, but that's my assumption.
Okay. Yeah, so we can talk offline on that. So then John Goodrich is retired now. The April meeting was his last. He was only coming back for the May meeting because of the city council had sent back the proposal for the changes to the prices. They wanted to do, they asked the group to go back and do a rebalance on the pricing. And so what they came back, what the recommendation from the city council was to have just two customer kind of categories. So lower consumption or higher consumption. So if you're using 6 units, you're lower consumption. You're rated as, you're categorized as lower consumption. And anything over 6 units, you're higher consumption. And they asked for a price of about $2.04 for the lower consumption, and then $10 increment for the higher consumption. And that was what the council asked for. The meeting was held last week to go back to the council, but I missed it because I had a conflict. So I need to get with Sue and to find out if that was presented to the council. But I don't know if Mike, if anyone else reached out to you, if council accepted that or not. So I'll update maybe at the next meeting. But for right now, what they're proposing is everyone should get a $2 increment if you're lower consumption and $10 increment per month if you're higher consumption. And more to come on that, still back and forth between the council and the advisory board here. I'll share more as we get more clarity as to which direction all of this is going. And that's all I have to share today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Smart. Dave.
Well, about, I think it was pretty close to 2 weeks ago, I got a call from Mike. Actually, it was from Ken. And I was invited to go on a tour. And I had no idea what I was in for when we started out. But Mike took us all across the area where potentially we could cut a road going from, well, potentially
Be Fisher, right? Well, we looked at all numbers of
Fisher
them.
to
Yeah, we had Capulet and Fisher, and we walked all those ravines going north south.
yeah, we probably walked about 4 or 5 miles, I think. It was a pretty good hike,
Yeah, I'd say
but
so.
it was very interesting. And yeah, we certainly viewed some challenges. And I know we have some things to conquer. And that's about all I have right now.
Well, Dave, I'm glad you were able to make it. You know, I know it was last minute and all of that, but I really appreciate you participating in that. Okay, Micah.
Not much new to report this month. Our PAB meeting was canceled this month as we did not have enough of topics to discuss. So that will reconvene next month. The small cities meeting will be in June as well, so I should have an update during the June meeting. And unfortunately, I was scheduled to go on that tour. I was really looking forward to it, and had a work conflict come up at the very last minute and missed it. So I look forward to the next opportunity when there is to go and tour that area and really get a better visual kind of perspective on what we're looking at. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Micah. Kate.
I didn't have anything.
Oh, that's right.
But I could come up with something. I do have a question from.
You changed positions on me, so I'm still going.
Okay. I have a question for Jamie real quick. Jamie, are there dates set for the June art? The 3 days in June?
Yes. Okay. And I will give them to you all in 2 seconds. And they are, I tell you what, I'll put them in the chat. Let me just find them real quick.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'll be brief. We've talked about a lot of the things that I had on my agenda to speak about. We've talked about the going live for City Council. We talked about the new lower risk that Washington County is going to, and what that means, in fact, is that restaurants and gyms and so on will increase their capacities. And there's still a lot of controversy surrounding whether businesses can force people to show that they've been vaccinated if they don't want to wear masks. And most businesses, I've been watching the news a lot, and most businesses say they don't want to go down that path. They don't want to have to question people about whether or not they've been vaccinated. And some of them say they're just going to continue to require masking as the safe way to do business. So we'll see how this plays out. Once again, in King City, it seems that people are very cooperative when it comes to doing the right thing. And it looks like we're probably going to be okay as we transition from a world where masks were required to you don't necessarily have to wear them if you've been vaccinated. So we'll see how it all plays out. I think we're going to be okay. That at least is my hope. Also, most of you probably have paid some attention to the Tualatin School District Board election last night. And I think they got some really good candidates. Dr. Lynn, who came and introduced himself to us, he he was unopposed. So of course he was a landslide victory for him. But I think the others who won, Tristan and David, they're all really, really strong candidates. And I think our school board is going to benefit from this election. They got more diverse, and I think is going to be important as they represent all the students of Tigard Tualatin School District. So I think that is extremely important. And I want to commend our Public Works Director, David Runyon. You know, there are simple things that we just kind of take for granted, but David is out there fighting some battles that we could easily overlook. And I'll give you an example. For whatever reason, people in our community see the trash cans in the park as their own personal receptacles for dumping their household trash. And I've seen people drive up to the one that sits outside my window here and dump trash from their homes out of their cars. And then one Sunday I got up and it was trash all over the sidewalk because it was full of someone's personal trash. So being the kind of person that I am, I went out there and swept it up and made the situation right. But David has been battling this thing where people are dumping styrofoam that they don't want to try to find a place to recycle and say, it's not my problem, I'm just going to dump it in the city park, okay? And it is ridiculous. Now, David is trying to do whatever he can to stay on top of this so that trash is not overflowing and thrown all over the park. The trash can that sits outside my house, he has now moved over to where the doggy bag stand is, and hoping that it will discourage people from driving up and disposing of their own personal household trash. Well, before the day was out, after Dave moved it, I'm sitting here and a woman drives up, another person gets out of her car, walks over to where it is by the doggy poop bags and dumps their personal trash. I don't understand it. I don't understand, but these are the kinds of things that David is trying to battle. By having to move trash cans around to prevent people from dumping their personal trash. You know what he has to do now? Now on Mondays, when trash collection, he has to get out at the park at 7 o'clock in the morning to move the trash can so Pride can pick it up. You know, and this is our community that does these things that makes no sense to me. I don't know why you need to use these to dump your personal trash, but these are the battles, okay? But you guys, when you see David, you need to thank him for all that he's doing out there. This shouldn't have to be, he shouldn't have to hit the park at 7 o'clock in the morning to do this, but we're, you know, we have no alternatives with some of these things, okay? So
this is smart. How do we know if they live in our community? Do we know?
I don't know where they live.
No,
you know,
so that's a problem. I mean,
right. I tried to get to the door, but I'm old, you know, and I don't move as fast. I tried to get to the door to tell the person that was dumping the trash, look, you don't dump your personal trash here. But I missed them. So
can we put any type of warning or any kind of?
That's the thing. David is going to put placards on the trash cans that says for park use only, no personal household trash allowed. Something along those lines. He is going to take that next step. Okay. And then the thing of it is policing it, you know, and doing something like this when human dignity and decorum should play, that you don't use these things for your personal trash. I don't even understand why you would.
Yeah.
But I think David has some plans to try to deter this kind of activity. But when you see him, thank him for the job that he's doing out there, because, you know, these are the kinds of things that we kind of overlook sometimes, okay? And so, and you know me, I'm a stickler for keeping things in order, and I just hate these kinds of things. So with that being said, I think we got so much to do. And listen, and I want Ronnie and Mike to know, listen, the conversation about the website, look, we understand what you guys are up against. We also know that we've got to keep our information current. We've got to do it. And what Jamie just recommended, that we participate in trying to relieve you guys as best we can to help keep these things up to date. You guys have a heavy load. We all understand that. And I'm never going to make it sound like you guys aren't doing your jobs, because that's not what this is about. It's about setting priorities and trying to do all the things that you're attempting to do. So we're going to give you, our responsibility as a council is to deliver to you as much help as you need in order to do this job. And that's what we're talking about more than anything else. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. We'll try to figure this out. Okay. But we're going to do it together. All right.
Definitely appreciate any help. It's all good. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys. Look, thank you guys so much. And we will need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Oh, I second. Smart got it.
Okay, you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Okay,
Take
bye.
care.
Hey,
Yeah,
did Mike get off?
you're still there.
I am still here. Did Mike get off?
Yeah, Mike is gone.
Oh, okay. All right. Bye,
Okay.
Mayor.
All right, bye, guys.
Yeah.